What's going on? Could this be my understanding? It's not your fault, I was being too demanding. I must admit, it's my pride that made me distant. All because I hope that you'd be someone different. There's not much I know about you. Fear will always make you blind. But the answer is in clear view. It's amazing what you'll find face to face.
That was Face to Face by Daft Punk on their Discovery album. Thank you for joining me. My name is Miguel Coronado. I'm an illustrator living in Austin, Texas. This is the Daily Study Group. It normally happens in the morning. I'll be honest. It normally happens in the morning. I normally don't do it so crazy late. But I had to do a bunch of stuff for work, and I stayed up till 4 in the morning, and I did not want to wake up on time. But the whole point is that we're doing it an hour a day, no matter what. So we're still doing it, and I think this is a better time for a lot of people, actually, because lots of people don't like the mornings. So if that's the case, I'm sorry, but it's just inconvenient for me to do it in the evening normally, because I like to do other things. It's inconvenient for me to do in the evening because if I want to talk in the mic and like the people I'm with, like whether it's my girlfriend or other friends, if they're trying to like watch a movie or just hanging out, it's kind of annoying for them to be quiet while they talk on the mic about art for like an hour. So I do it in the morning before people wake up. People meaning my girlfriend. That's one of the reasons. I can get it over with and they can take a break, have breakfast. That's one of the reasons. But anyway, I had storyboards I had to do. They're not good. I mean, they're great. They're great storyboards, but they're really fast. They're real sketchy. That's a terrible thing to say. No, I didn't mean it like that. I'm just really tired. Thank you for joining me, though. Daily Study Group. Today, I know we have a lesson plan that says something like today's supposed to be like perspective or something. I think. Let me check. We're not going to do it, so whatever it says, it doesn't matter. We're going to do something different today. We're going to do a facial study from a photograph. And I'm going to try and address something. Yeah, so today is supposed to be a composition breakdown. I'm just going to type in portrait into Google, and there we go. We're going to go to images, portrait photography. Any of these work, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to try and do a straight on face. Here we go. Black and white, that'll be fine. It's good. Not letting me download the image. Here we go. Alright. We're going to do this face study today. And I kind of want to do this because I did this paint over this weekend. Oh, by the way, let me go back and tell you quick. You can find my work at www.mciii.net or facebook.com/iiimciii. Mike is 086 on the Crimson Daggers forum, and we're doing Kickstarter right now. So if you really like vampire movies and want to support some artists by donating, you can donate to a vampire movie that we're running. we're running. We're going to be making. We have everything we need to make it. We'll be shooting on Red Epic cameras, so it'll be like a 5K cinema, 5K, 4K. Yeah, it'll be 5K cinema camera. We got about 720 raised. We're looking to raise a lot. We want to pay the whole crew, and as fellow artists, I think you would kind of enjoy the fact that we're trying to pay everyone involved in the project. We don't want to ask for free work because it's not cool. But anyway, you can donate $10. You can get some shirts and some posters for $40. You can donate a lot more, or if you have a crazy rich uncle that loves vampire movies, you can donate. Or if you're just crazy rich, you can donate if you like it. I think you will. It's going to be a scary vampire movie about a girl that hunts vampires. And it's not Buffy, it's different. I'll explain how later. But it's going to be like a broody, dark film about a girl that can sense where the vampires are, and she's going to hunt them down with her abilities. So, you can see the concept art on this website, www.vampiresfilm.com. That's vampires with a Y. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Enough of that. Let's get on to this face study. If you did join me on Sunday, I did a critique and paint over for somebody, and SETA, and they're doing some kind of thing called what's it called? 14-day portrait challenge. Anyway, I kind of read up about it. I don't exactly know what it's about. What I think is, if you're going to do some kind of portrait building, portrait strengthening exercise, you're going to want to study from life. And in this case, we're going to study from a photograph today. So, this is kind of my, this is what I would do thing. I'm just making sure I have the right amount of space. Perfect. It looks like it's perfect. I think it's perfect. Maybe not. Anyway, it doesn't really matter exactly. Alright. Just delete that. We're just going to start. I wanted to make some quick pointers. So we're doing a face study, and I know that lots of people, when you do face studies, when you do these studies, you kind of, you know, these breakdowns where like the corner of the eye typically lines up with the corner of the nostril right here, and then like the corner of the mouth, it's right where the iris starts on women. So it could be different for men. And also, just different from person to person, but generally speaking, all these rules are always the same. So you notice that the ears are the same size as the top of the eye to the nose. And then there's some other things here. And depending on how you look at it, it's there's different ways to break it down. We could divide it differently too. The different way we could do this is we divide it like the hairline's up here, then the brows start here, and the nose is there, and then here's the chin. So that's thirds of the face. You can't see the top line because it's right on the edge, but it's just one of the ways that the face can be divided into thirds. If you need to like check your proportions when you're drawing somebody, especially if they're face on. Just one way to check it out. So there's different systems you can use, right? And then, you know, these systems are great, and they help you learn to build the face. But after a while, when you really start studying from life, you're going to realize that like no one's face is exactly no one's face exactly fits into these systems, and everyone is kind of different, right? So I should be able to pull up someone else's face and throw them into these grids, and they'll generally be in the same proportion, like same zones. So and this is different for children. These are like adults, so don't try it with a child's face. Here's Vladimir Putin, perfect example. It's the wonderful Russian president himself. Whoa, it's a huge picture. He likes to take over everything. Here we go. So if I size his head up to be about her height, let's do the chin. Chin's right about there. That's about right. It looks like it. I should be able to move Vladimir and generally mark out the same area. Yeah, you can kind of see how it works. It's almost exact, except his ears are a little bigger. But that's also kind of compensated for the fact that his nose is a little longer. So like while his ears are bigger, here we go, let's go to his nose, and let's go to his, so his face doesn't exactly line up. If we kind of draw across, we kind of see that this ear, the top of the ear, doesn't line up with the other ear at all. In fact, if we go to the top of this ear, it's above the other ear. And if we and these blue lines are no longer marked either, so we gotta, like, if we wanted to divide his face into thirds, we'd have to, let me get another color. We start with the chin for the bottom third, the nose is a third, the top of the brow is supposed to be a third, but it's already kind of looking a little off. Looks like his nose is a little too big. His hairline's receded, so I'm assuming it started up here when he was younger. Because this doesn't really account for receding hairlines. But see, there's already some differentiation from this person to Vladimir Putin. And let's pull in someone else. Let's pull in someone like famous. Someone that everyone recognizes. It's got to be a straight-on portrait, though. So let me just look up portrait face. I think that's what I looked up. Let's see here. Is this what I looked up? Oh, this is what I looked up. Maybe it's front. Did I look at front? Or if it's celebrity. I think it was celebrity. Maybe it was celebrity portraits. Okay, here we go. That's close enough. There's Brad Pitt. He's like super recognizable. We're going to try the same thing with him. Put the face in. I'm going to adjust so that generally he's about the same size as Putin. Chin. It's getting close already. Oops. Just line up that chin. That's about right. It's a little off, right? So I mean, let's acknowledge that it's a little off. But let me just go ahead and we'll try and dissect this face up a bit with some guides. Let's use like this green. So here's one way to divide it. As we said, here's the top of the ear. Should cut across from the eye region, and it depends on like the angle of the face too. It'll change. But generally, the nose is right here. Like I think the way his face is angled, the bottom of the nose comes a little lower, and corner of the mouth still hits the irises. That's generally correct, right? And then the corner of this nostril is the end of the eye. That's correct, right? Correct in terms of like the standard like breakdowns of the face. Let's pull out like this red color. Here's his hairline, his brow. Oops, here's his brow, bottom of the nose, chin. That's could be a little off. Maybe his hairline's a little off, but you can see how everything's slightly different, right? And that's always going to change because people, they all look different, right? That's how it works. No one's the same. So, long story short, all this stuff is good to a point. And then even the people that are like really famous, and even the people that are considered like the most attractive people in the world, their faces aren't exactly spot on in terms of like these proportions. You know, their faces have slight inconsistencies to them. One of the terms, like one of the hallmarks of beauty in the Western world, I think in most of the world, is a symmetrical face. Your face looks real symmetrical. But we can already see that, like, let me just flip the canvas real quick. George Clooney's right side of his lip comes up a little more than the left side. This left side of his face is a little more square than the right side. His ears are not lined up. This ear is taller. Bottom ear. Yeah, his right ear is taller than his left ear. If we go from the bottom of this wrinkle of the eye, his eyes are on level. His nose isn't 100% straight, and I'll kind of highlight that. Oh, I guess I can't highlight that. Let me, hold on. Just, I drew on the wrong layer. Here we go. See, if I were to like rotate, that's where his nose is. If you kind of find both the nostrils and the center of the nose, you see how that works? Slightly off, and then like Brad Pitt is a little more center. Anyway, my point is, even the big famous faces in the world, they aren't quote unquote perfect. So when you're drawing characters or people and you're making them up, you got to remember that something about the believability will come from the fact that they're not perfectly drawn symmetrically. You know, you add the humanity to them by making them slightly crooked, slightly off, just slightly. Don't make them like, you know, Hunchback of Notre Dame or anything. But yeah, like Anthony Hopkins, his eye is like lower than the other eye. You know? So anyway, let's get on with this study, the actual meat of this thing. Select some white. I think if there's going to be a way that you want to practice faces, and specifically like becoming more proficient in drawing faces over time, you need to look at people, real people, and different people from different nationalities, different people from different ages, weight, weight, height. You know, taller people generally have a different look to them than shorter people. Head shape. Lots of tall people have longer heads. It's just part of it. Nationalities. I'm going to kind of rush through this. I'm not going to rush through. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the shape of the face down really fast, and I'm going to just nitpick at it for a while. Because once I get the silhouette down, I can go in and fill in what I really want, like all the features. And there's different ways I do me personally, there's different ways I do face studies. And like one of them is a straight up copy of like a photo or a person. But sometimes like if I need to draw like uh, if I need to draw like a Viking, I need to look up a Norse dude and draw Norse people and draw Norse people's noses and Norse people's beards and their hair and their brows. And then if I need to look up like this black person, I don't know exactly where they're from, I need to look up people like her. You know, if it's female, you need to look up females. You can't just arbitrarily practice faces. You know, if you have like a specific project coming up, you gotta like pick out. What I do is I'll go through and I'll pick out the different features. Like, what is it about the nose of someone from Africa that's different from someone from Asia or Europe? You know, or what's different about native Mexican people versus Spanish people? There's huge differences. And like, what signifies someone that's like from Mexico that has more Spanish blood in them? And then what signifies someone that's from Mexico that has more Indian blood in them? And their hair, you know, when I mean Indian blood in them, I mean like their family, their DNA in the genes. So, generally, like, okay, so if it is someone with more Spanish blood, they have more facial hair, and they might have lighter eyes, lighter skin complexion, more hair on their body. I only know that because I'm Hispanic myself. But I have eyes, so I've seen people. Anyway. So we can also do the thing where you flip the faces. This will work too, a little bit, right? But in the end, there's still going to be some things like the shadow on this right side of the eye is bigger than the left side. The nose has looks like it kind of smooths out on this side. It's a little less, it's not completely symmetrical. When you think of like perfect symmetry, the lips are ever so off-centered, like just slightly, not completely, right? So there's little bitty differences in the face that are gonna pop up as we do this stuff, and that's one of the things we want to think about. While we work. So I could flip it, like as we draw, I could flip it a bunch of times and like double check, but it's not going to do me any good to try and make my face symmetrical when the face I'm copying isn't symmetrical. And also sometimes for these faces too, you should really pick out a face with some good lighting, because lots of these like straight on portraits like this, like when I'm drawing, they're lit in such a way that they flatten the features. Photographers design the lighting so that the model has like beautiful features and perfect features. They're not lighting it so that you can, it depends, like, but like most of the time when you see these straight on portraits, the lighting is not in such a way that it's going to carve the shapes of the face. It like hides the shapes of the face. Specifically like on magazines and stuff. Like lots of magazine photography is like that, where they try and hide all the intricate shapes, because people can't be imperfect on magazine covers. They have to be exactly perfect. I'm not saying they literally do. I'm just saying that's like the mindset. An actress can't just be herself on a magazine cover. She's got to be the perfect version of herself that everyone thinks is real, which doesn't exist. That's why all the actresses and musicians on magazine covers look like weird plastic people. So they've been manipulated. they've been shocked. Anyway. Yeah, so anyway, I feel like this is going to be, if there's a way to study portraiture, or like faces specifically, you need to do it from reference, and then vary your reference. And that way, when it comes time for you to draw someone made up, you can decide before you go into the drawing, like, oh, they're going to be Mongolian with a slight mix of Norwegian or something, I don't know. But you would know how to draw a person, like you would know how to draw someone like that if you didn't do the proper studying. So that's kind of the point, is that you must do that studying. So you have it in your database. It's called your brain. It's a brain database. Anyway. When I don't use face reference, my faces always look the same. That is to say, when I don't use face reference, my faces always slightly look generally like me. Because most people look at themselves when they first start drawing. Like all the time. Like when you first start drawing, you're looking at yourself for expressions, you're looking at yourself for reactions, and you're looking at yourself for lighting, unless you start finding friends or family members. In those cases, if they're family members, they still look kind of like you. So when I draw even cartoony, kind of like anime-looking characters, when I draw them from memory without having any kind of reference to kind of base my face off of, they always end up looking kind of like me in a way, or a caricatured version of me. And anyway, that's one of like the symptoms of not using enough reference. Because the more reference you use now, the less you'll have to use later at certain moments. I mean, you should always look it up, but it's silly not to look up reference. Because it's like saying, I don't want to be better than I could be. I don't want to be... Because even once you don't really need reference as much, adding reference in is only going to be like this extra step that you can do to improve your stuff. Like an extra notch closer to like where it could be. And to just not do that, it's just silly. Because you're like blatantly saying, I just don't want to be that good. I want to actually be that good, so I'm going to deny myself that. Anyway, I don't think anyone actually wants to do that when they actually think of it that way. I am going to go ahead and try and use one brush the whole time. I got this weird, awkward oval thing. I just kind of have it out from doing the storyboards earlier. Earlier. God, I'm not talking correctly there. So like the photographs are good for face shapes, right? Like it's good that I can pick up a photo of someone and just look at like someone from Africa, or like specifically, like I could say, okay, I want to draw someone from Ethiopia or someone from Zimbabwe, and I could look that up. And there's things I could pick up from the photograph, right? But when it comes to real lighting reference, the one thing you're going to want to always try and do is seek out some kind of life model, life reference, whether it's like a 3D armature, or like putting the lighting on yourself and then applying it to the other reference. And that can be a little tricky if you've never done it before, but you know, it's worth the work because it ends up looking really awesome. You gotta like start figuring out exactly how much the nose curves like on this person, and how smooth are the cheeks, and you gotta like, if you happen to have a really big nose or a really, really small nose, but the person you're trying to model after looks opposite of you, you gotta figure out how much you need to alter in order to make it look correct. So yeah. I'm kind of moving up and down this side right now. I want to get these features to a general uh, even position. Even, I mean, I guess in terms of like the level of finish that they're at, and then I'll go to the other side, do the opposite, opposite side, and then I'll go back and start refining. That's kind of my mindset. Like that's what I'm thinking about while I'm doing this. I'm not really worried about the other half yet. I'll do that in a second. But I don't want to completely focus on here. One of the benefits I have is that I don't work on a Cintiq, I work on a Wacom tablet. And something that everyone does when they start drawing is you work on paper typically when you start. Like you're in school and you're just drawing on paper. And if you're like me, you sit really close to the paper and try and hide it because you don't want your teacher to know you're drawing in class instead of doing your work. So you sit really close to your paper and you draw and you draw and you draw and you make this awesome like hand. And then you go to the head area, you make this awesome head. And you go make this awesome torso, and then you make this awesome leg. And then you sit back and look at your picture at the end of class when the teacher's not around, and it looks like crap because you did a bunch of random stuff. You didn't look at the whole thing as one image. So I never used to draw like this. When I'm drawing on paper, I don't draw like this. I don't stick to one side. I go back and forth when I'm on paper. But because I can stay zoomed out on Photoshop, I choose to, let me up-res it a bit. Because I can stay zoomed out in Photoshop, I can not worry as much about staying on one side because I can see the other side the whole time and not like sitting close to a piece of paper or like my sketchbook specifically. Some of the things I've heard, and I'm trying to think of where I heard them now because I want to kind of credit the people that I've heard this from. But I'm forgetting, so sorry. Where did I hear this from? I want to say it's from like, I want to say it might even be like a podcast or something about face recognition. Face recognition, like technology. There's an area that those security cameras and stuff measure, and it's like this. It's basically, let me put up a new guide. It's basically this, like those security cameras measure this area first, and I think the human brain works this way. The human brain needs to see like this area and then like later the overall face shape, the overall face shape and then like the size of the mouth and the mouth itself. But like if you only ever saw the top two portion, like these, like this, if you only ever saw this top portion of the eyes and nose, it'll be fairly easy to identify somebody because this is what your mind normally, you recognize people by the nose and the eyes. Sometimes it works the other way. But anyway, basically what I'm trying to say is if you can nail this area down, you can get the likeness of somebody. So once you noodle through and get all this like perfect in terms of proportions, it'll end up looking like whoever you're drawing. I mean, it'll look like them. And if you don't achieve that, then you're gonna have these weird. You're gonna do this thing where you draw a person that looks kind of like someone you know, or kind of like that famous person, but it's not actually that person. You gotta like do these subtle changes. I think Andrew Andrew Jones, in one of those DVDs, he talks about this too, where like um, getting the face correct is something that it ends up being like this like noodly little thing where you sit there and it's not about big changes, it's about little changes. It's like if someone comes to you and says, hey, I saw this guy that looks just like you. Or they say, I saw this person that looks just like your brother or your sister, right? And then you look at that person and you can see how they saw that, but you know that that person doesn't really look like, your brother. It doesn't really look like you, because there's little things that you know about yourself and the people you're close to that just set off like alarms, like, oh, that's not him, that's not that person. That's why when people turn around, if you look like someone from behind and people turn around, they're like, oh my god, that's not the right person at all. Because all those little differences, you could still look pretty similar, but then it's all these little differences that add up that make the big difference overall. Anyway, this is a pretty evenly lit face, but there's some good lights and darks that really sculpt out what's going on. She looks kind of angry. You don't want her to. See here. You gotta worry about kind of blending and stepping out the gradients now. Smoothing things out. Since I'm using this one brush and it happens to have hard edges, I gotta kind of like really work on blending. Now also I'm kind of like forcing myself to use one brush just to like think about, because I have to use one brush, I gotta really think about certain things like how am I going to achieve the transition from, let's pull up a new highlighter layer. How am I going to achieve the transition from this spot that looks lighter here next to this spot that's slightly darker there? How am I going to do that? And I can switch brushes, and because I know I have a brush that looks like a skin texture that could easily do this for me. And I can sit here and go back and forth with that skin texture brush until it looks correct. But I kind of want to just figure out how much I need to blend between these two spots on my own. That way I don't have to worry about what brush I have. All I have to worry about is seeing the transitions and identifying where those need to be put into. So like this is kind of what I'm seeing right now. These are like the value transitions I see, and they're subtle. And some of these are like, to me, some of these are values, and some of these are transitions. So I kind of categorize them like that in my head. So like this area right here on the brow is what I would call a value. This area on the brow is a value. This here area right under the brow is a value. This here on the forehead is a value. This is a value. These edges are values. This area is a value. And like in my mind, those are the areas, like the planes. I guess that's a better way to say it. These are the planes of the face. And these areas that aren't circled, these in-between areas, are how the planes gently transition from one plane to another. So from this dark area of the brow to this top area, that we have a transition area right here. And it transitions from the brighter area to the darker area right in here. So I plan that I kind of just have that in my head as I'm drawing. That's kind of it. That's end of story. But if you're watching this and you don't really have never done this before, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. I'm not really thinking about. I don't really want to think about it as a human brow and this person's brow. I'm thinking about it as area A next to area B. How do I get it to area C? Make it look smooth, or not make it look smooth. Because like this area, put this highlighter layer back on. This area of the brow here, oops. This area here and this area here have a harsh transition line. It's pretty, not harsh, but it's pretty prominent, right? That tells us that this part of the eye socket goes in and this part comes out. If that transition weren't there, if I were to come in here with this gray, keep unselecting my layer. If I were to come in here with this gray, I could start changing the shape of the face by adjusting the shadows, because the shape of the face is just how the light and the shadows interact. So if I don't get that line right, it starts looking like a different person. It's not correct anymore. Correct in terms of making it look like this person. If I were to like have this, if their eyes came out like that, so we got like this fatty tissue. You take up all the more we lighten up these dark spots, the flatter the face becomes. And the more we darken some of these darker spots. Now they're getting skinny, So if we don't nail those transitions, it starts looking like a different person. So to think about it like, oh, I just gotta draw their brow, it's kind of, it's not as correct as it could be, because what I really need to think about is like, I need to get this shape right, because the shape that's created in this area defines the eye. Not, oh, this is part of the eye. Kind of like dismiss it as something like, don't want to dismiss it as something. I don't know who this person is. I don't know. I think they're just a model. Just if anyone's wondering who I'm drawing. I'll be on in the morning tomorrow too, by the way, if anyone's wondering. I just had to get up, well, I had to stay up really late, and then I was just exhausted and finishing some stuff this morning, so. I was going to bring CJ on, but I think he's busy tonight. So, there's that tutorial by Shadi Safadi. I don't want to mess up his name, but sorry if I did. Or he does a landscape and he breaks down. First he kind of lays in the silhouette, then he starts focusing on like the values and the colors, It takes a good long time to set up everything, and it pays off in the end because you set up everything as your map and your guide, and then you can play around within that, and it's easy to generate something really cool. So like right now with these values and stuff, when we do a portrait, that's kind of how you should think about it, where like you're setting up your guide later to come in here and do like the color, skin and stuff. Just if you see that video, that set of videos, it's a good little resource to learn from, and you could apply that to everything. It doesn't have to be a landscape, it could be a face. And in terms of the face, it's like he keeps talking about getting the essence of a shape, nailing the essence of a shape, and spending time on making sure you get that down. And then once you get the essence down, you don't need to worry about what it is until you get it down first. So once you get that down, though, it's easy to go back in and change things, and that's kind of how I'm doing this. As far as like what I think about in my head, my private head time that I don't like to talk about all that often, but like whenever I do still life, when I do still life, I have the music playing, because I've been doing that recently, where I don't talk during the still life sessions. I'll have the music playing. I don't really talk anymore about like what I'm doing, because it's the same every time I do a still life, and that is that I'm not thinking about drawing an orange. I'm thinking about putting down the shape as correctly as possible, and then blocking in the shape next to it. And then after the fact, I can make it an orange. I don't really worry about whether it's an orange or not right at the beginning. I just worry about whether it's that oval is correctly spaced next to that block. And sit there and just noodle at it. I say noodle, it's not really noodling, it's like sit there and nitpick it. You go back and forth, light and dark, dark and light, until you get the perfect kind of representation of it. You don't need it to be exact. You need the perfect representation, because we don't really want a photograph, we want an illustration. And if you really wanted the exact representation of it, then you can study photography. Study photography or get into 3D scanning. There are industries that are starting up. That'll be more up your alley. But you should not fear imperfection. You should still strive for your ideal perfection. Now, some people it's different. Some people's ideal perfection is like Jamie Jones, where it's kind of rough and painterly. That's what they think of as perfect, right? Some people, their idea of perfection is like Dan Levisi, where it's like super rendered, and you got like the glass, and there's stickers, and there's neon lights and guns. Some people think Justin Sweet's work is perfect, or Dave Raposa, any of them. Find your ideal you want to strive for, and just kind of shoot for that. And then if you don't shoot high, you're never going to get anywhere. You can't shoot low. You can't be like, I just want to make it better than my last drawing. That's not going to work. You want to make it like 20 times better than your last drawing. You still look kind of pissed off in mine. I think that's because the brow tapers down to the side more, and mine is kind of arcing in. I feel like I could fix that by coming in here like this, giving it a more soft look, like they're not pissed off about anything. They're just kind of chilled out. Sit here and get that transition right. This is a vital transition here because it's where the face turns into the side of the head. So missing this and messing it up in some way would, well, I mean, it wouldn't be good, but it's one of those things where people could draw faces, they could draw profiles, but then when they had to like do the transition parts, they're kind of uneasy about it. This little cone of darkness here, let me highlight it for everybody. Let's make some obnoxious color. Okay. This little cone of darkness, this whole tube that delineates where the front of the face kind of begins to transition to the side of the face, you know. Excuse me. Oh my gosh, my gosh, I need tea. I don't know if anyone's talking to me in the chat. I'll check. Radial ray. Yeah, Brad Rigney. Yeah, that is a better example. I think Dan Levisi's, in terms of stuff, like Brad Rigney's, he has simple stuff going on that's highly rendered, and I think Dan Levisi's got tons of stuff not necessarily rendered exactly as high as it could be, but you know, the difference from those guys versus Justin Sweet, Vance Kovacs, and who's that guy? The super famous one? Jamie Jones. The difference between them, you know, it's like everyone has like their own views of everything, so. But have your ideal you're trying to strive for. I don't want this to look photoreal. We could do it though. We can go in here and make it look photoreal if we want. I could pull out some other brushes and zoom in really tight and get all these like really subtle transitions, but it'll become not fun for me. That's what I've realized now, as this year is the year about me realizing how certain things just aren't fun for me to do, so I just won't do them. Like, I think I like my style to be dictated by how much fun I have doing it versus the end result. The end result will be great, but knowing that I had fun getting there is more important to me. And that's kind of what I realized this last year. Because I have a history of like rendering way too much in some of my earlier stuff. This year it's been a lot looser compared to the first few things I did. So it's like it's good learning that the fun part is more important to me. I don't know if any of you on the chat, have you ever tried Brad Rigney's method? I've tried it, and it's cool because you can start seeing how it works. You know, you can start seeing how you can push the values. You can start like sculpting the pixels basically. But I just don't have fun doing that. It seems like it becomes like this strange work for me that I don't like. Like, it becomes me sitting there having to like rub the values together correctly. Here we go. There. That I just kind of nailed. And that, let me undo it real quick. Will it go back that far? Yeah. Okay, so I took this darker value and then I filled in up to here, and then suddenly they looked way less severe, more peaceful. And that's kind of what's going on in this other, in the actual photo. That's kind of what I need right here. This little subtle, they're not like happy smiling, they're just not severe. I could tone it down a little bit on the top. Oh, but for the study too though, the study, let's sit here and noodle for a long time because it's worth it to do this now, so when it comes time to do a real piece, real actual work for somebody, I can just have fun. The study is a study, so it's not necessarily supposed to be fun so much as a learning experience. So sometimes those can suck. Often they suck because you're not good at that thing you're studying. So that's one of the reasons most studies just aren't fun for people, because you're supposed to be doing something that's hard for you. So you're literally making yourself struggle. And that can be annoying. I know it is for me. I need to do some perspective stuff. That's the next thing I need to do. Get a better footing on that. I need to get my book. I left it at the other house. I'm house sitting right now. But anyway, I need to get my Scott Robertson's book, How to Draw. Just how to draw. I want to look through that and pick out exercises from there, because those would be what I need. Or like, I know that'd be a good place for me to start. Okay. Just sit here and just go back and forth. If you make yourself do this is what I feel like. If I sit here and make myself get that perfect value and figure out exactly how to get that like transition, and what's going to happen is that later when I really want to do it, I'll know how to use my shortcut. And my shortcut I haven't developed yet because I'm in the middle of drawing this now. But I know somehow I'm going to develop a shortcut. And it's going to be some kind of like 1 or 2 stroke thing where I can get that look in a couple strokes. That's what you want. Not everyone. You don't have to actually. Some people don't want that. Some people just want to. Like, I'm pretty sure Brad Rigney does his thing. He does that smudge tool because he likes to, and it's fun for him to do it. It's fun for him to sit there and make it look super crisp and rendered. That's what he enjoys. So. I like the implied stuff. I'm learning a lot more now that I really like the implied stuff, and I like strong lighting that like really shows off the 3D, like kind of the dimensionality of something. That's what I'm drawn to. I really like James Zapata's work. He has a really strong handle on form and lighting, and there's like several things he's done that look like they look like he used ZBrush to make them, but it's just him just painting it. And if you actually look closely, it's not that rendered at all. It's like cybernetic suits. You like zoom in just a little bit, suddenly like, oh, it's not even like rendered that much, but in a good way, in the best way. The hair is off. This is like closer in. Trying to like dot it in to kind of give that texture. Gonna drink some tea. the ears. My tongue's like sticking to my mouth for some reason. Maybe I need to drink some more water. Here. My girlfriend and I are going to go see Her this week, I think. I don't know when yet. But we've heard it's really good. We're behind on watching all the big movies. Okay. Oops. There we go. When I first started doing digital painting, I couldn't get a hold of like the idea. I couldn't really grasp the idea that like some people don't need to draw lines. And now I don't really draw any lines anymore when I do digital painting. I'll do the lines on... I'll use line art when I'm trying to get someone to look like someone. Like when I want to get the likeness to match, I use line art typically. But also I use like every tool in the box. Like I'll do the transform tool, I'll do everything. I don't really care about what I use, but I'm actually working. I limit myself during the studies, that way I can get some muscle memory worked in, along with just the actual, with actually trying to pick out what's going on. I want to kind of get that muscle memory of moving my hand. Like I want to move my hand down the curve of the neck like this, and figure out how to get that better in one stroke, and then want to make sure I'm getting like this transition here in the face. Okay, here's something too I've seen. I stepped back a couple times, but I've seen people's artwork on lots of the critiques that people throw up for when they want critiques. Their face will be like this, where like, or their face, or their whatever drawing it is, a character or whatever armor. You'll have like these really light lights, and then you'll just have like it just kind of drops to black. And it, if you look at the actual transition, that's the gray from the face. Here's the darkest part. That's actually kind of black. But the lightest part actually fades into the background. It's not quite the white of the background, but like, in fact, let me see, is the background even white? Yeah, the background's white, so. This gray here is quite a few steps up from that black color. So my easy step is to just take one of these midtones and just brush it in, and then from there I got a good starting place, and I could always make it darker if I need to. I don't need to worry about picking that gray entirely correctly, because I know that the edges start from white and fade in. But there's also like this squareness to the jaw that seems to come out right here, and it kind of lines up with the corner of the mouth. Let me open up a new layer so I can just kind of highlight that real quick. Oops, and I'm working on the wrong layer the whole time. How many layers have I worked on? Oops. Oops, oops, oops. Let me just merge all that down. Okay, so the corner of the mouth, this angle needs to match this angle, ideally. I got to get that line to match. It's like an invisible line that I've made. I kind of draw this line from the corner to the jaw line, and I have to match that up as best I can. That's how I line up things as I'm trying to reinterpret them. I think it's on the Collective podcast, or yeah, it's a Collective podcast. Someone was saying, like, you know, the illustrators are just like really slow, inefficient printers. So, like, this is like me trying to scan in the data, trying to print it out correctly. And I guess I could cross-check that. Like, if this line is somewhat similar to the other line in terms of the angle, it means I'm close. So see, I'm a little off. See how that line skews slightly more? Mine's slightly more down than the other one. When I had it like gotta make sure you have it at the right spot. But actually, it doesn't really. I had it just about the right spot there. I think that's about where it would be. And you can just see that the angle is slightly off. So really, whether it's up high or low, the angle itself is not correct. So that's something that's kind of telling me that I need to kind of reposition that jawline a bit, just slightly, not like a major thing. In fact, it might not even be important. Like, it's important now for me because this is a study, so it's important that I want to try and nail that. But if it were just an actual piece for someone, maybe I just like the fact that, you know, it doesn't need to be perfect. Unless the client wants it perfect, like absolutely perfect. That's different. It's a whole different thing. If they're being particular, you gotta just do what they say. Don't argue, unless they're not paying enough, in which case argue for more pay. Don't argue. I mean, just like request. Have it in your contract already. You don't even have to request it. It's just part of the deal. They're being particular about things. You don't want them to turn your job into a not fun job. So I'm noticing now is right now these lines, the values in here are so different. There's like this Y shape that's being created right there. It doesn't exist really on her. It's like smoother. There's like a line, but it fades into like nothing. So I gotta tone this all down by. I just take this other value next to it and just soften everything. I did kind of make this harder for myself. It's easier to have a soft brush and work with the soft brush than it is to work with a hard brush and try and make everything soft. Because you have to go back and really double over and double up on all like the rendering. The soft brush, all you have to do is make it really small and it looks sharper. If you had to use one brush, I would suggest a soft brush. Something that's soft. Because it's easier to go harder. The space, I'm noticing the space from the eye to this corner, little eyelid corner, is longer in the photograph. It comes out like all the way to here. Anyway, just that. Could be toned down a little more up here. All this stuff can be toned down. This corner here can be transitioned softer. This line of value here, it's almost like, well, I just said it. It's like a line. It's like a straight line, as I meant to say. It's almost like a straight line. That is what I was saying. Go get that shape. Just go real slow. There's no rush because it's steady, you know, that's the thing. That's the big thing. Whoa, there's a bunch of people talking. Hold on, I'm so behind. Is it wrong to rely on references? No, it's not. I don't think it's wrong to rely on references. Okay, sorry about that. I'm catching up with the chat, that's all. Also implies stuff, copying is a reference fine, we understand how reference doing anyone thing. Transform words for just space on this. Too bright, also yeah, no, I know that you can adjust the brushes. I don't want to. I'm choosing not to. I'm trying to just make sure I can control it with just my hand. I don't do this for normal work, guys. I don't. I use every tool available in Photoshop for normal work. For studying, I don't do it. Because I'm trying to train my hand to do certain things. That to me, that's why I'm doing this study this way. You don't have to do it this way. Lots of people, it's a value. There's a value to using every single tool in Photoshop, even during your studies, because that's how you're going to work later. And I can completely understand that. I've tried it too. But it's another one of the things where I kind of have more fun just drawing it in. But I absolutely go to all the tools and all the transform tools and everything. Yeah, and actually the overall values of all the highlights are off right now. Now let me do this thing. I'm going to go ahead and throw on a new layer and just multiply it. It's the easier way for me to turn down the values. I could always add on the lighter values. This whole nose area is like really too hot of a value region. This whole area, this actually could be toned down a lot more. Just the pace I'm going at is really slow, but it's purposefully slow. Not like I can't go faster. Also too, last night, guys, I was up to like 4 in the morning working on stuff. So the last thing I want to do today, now that I'm done with everything, is rush anything. Just I want to take a break. So something else y'all need to understand. Ugh. Work on that. Let me flatten that in, and I'll work on that transition actually. But this looks more correct now. The other thing I do is shrink down my brush size and like sit here and like do the pencil thing, where I can make it so small that you don't really see the texture as much. Kind of gets lost. And you can start creating the new textures a certain way. Is anyone watching the Olympics? I normally watch the Olympics, but I haven't been so far. It was kind of weird because the opening ceremony was like after, and it felt wrong. So just start watching it. Also, I haven't been recording anything, so I've just blatantly been missing it, and haven't really done much about that. Brightness a bit. I don't know if you can see that. If you can see that, turn on the brightness or not. I don't know if that translates to a live stream. I haven't been watching the Olympics though, but I normally do, so I should probably get on top of that. I don't watch everything. Something I'm just not interested in watching. Snowboarding's always good. Snowboarding is like anything with the skiing is normally really good. I guess really lots of the Winter Olympics is really good. Anyway. Getting real quiet. I can see there's some things that are off here. I'm going to go ahead and start reaching over this other side of the face, which I'm not going to finish the whole face today. And I'm probably not going to actually finish the whole face. I'm taking bits of this information that I'm doing, and I don't necessarily need to finish the whole thing. I only need to study up to a bit, figure things out to a degree, and then I can move on. There's subtle transitions that are going on with this face that are just different from a Caucasian person's face. The cheekbone, the structure of the cheeks are different. There's a squareness I'm missing right now to the jaw that I could put in. I could see it. I'm just trying to figure out the easiest way to do it without having to actually go in and take this value and lower this value a bit. Oh, goodness, I gotta start working out. Again, I normally go on and off. It's been really cold here, and I just don't really like running out in the cold. Because it hurts my lungs. But if you're from up north, you probably run in the cold all the time, and you're like, why? Why do you care? But I'm gonna start running again. It's my time to listen to podcasts, my running time. That's my, normally I listen to the collective podcast when I run. So I listen to like half the episode when I run. And I take a shower, get dressed. I listen to the other half when I'm working. Oh, my goodness. Oh, stretching a bit. Little things like, I don't know, right now I'm not too concerned with getting the lip texture 100% correct. Like, I don't want it to match the photo exactly. And one of the reasons is I've done like lips before, like I've rendered them out, so I'm confident in my ability to do that. I'm still thinking more about the overall face. I could sit here and we could sit here and do it. It just gets to the point, like when you really start rendering, it gets to the point where like you got all these little things you gotta do. Like you gotta get the lines to look just right, and then each line needs its own set of values because each line is another bit of form, and each little bit of form needs its own little shadow, its own little bounce light, its own little cast shadow, and then you just keep building on that, and then you know. Try and fix this eye a bit right here. Try and get that more centered in. When I do draw like normal illustrations, like for myself, I do the whole face at once. I don't go one side, right side, left side. I go kind of this region, both sides, the nose, mouth, sides of the face, make sure they're nice and squared out and or like fixed however they need to be. I don't normally go from side to side like that. So there's things that are happening in this that I don't normally do. That I just end up doing today. That's another thing that I think these studies are good for. They're a good time to experiment. If there's something you don't normally do, like if you've never used the liquify tool, ever, and you want to learn how to use it, you should do it while you're doing a study. Because if you radically, well, you always have undo, so that'll never really happen if you're properly saving your file. If you radically change it, and you suddenly just it's not working for you, it's only a study, so you could. It's one of the ways to learn a new technique is apply it in a study first, like literally test it out, and then if you get it, awesome. If you don't get it, just try it again. It's Photoshop, so you can just undo it, or just save different versions of it. You never truly mess it up unless you just forget to save, in which case it's another lesson you get to learn the hard way. Just gonna cut away. The like I said, draw the ear out correctly on this side. The ear comes up It's like just past the eye a little bit. Goes down. Stays inward like that. This. Looks like this. If anyone's talking to it, I don't have two screens, so if you can actually see me scroll over, I don't see it. Did Finjamin go? Did he actually leave? He had to go. It's weirder if he just came in, said a bunch of things, and just left. It's better if you stay. And it feels like I just dropped by to like throw in some criticism, then I just leave. Just leave and don't even care if you do it or not. Anyway. So now I can kind of do some more guesstimate. Like this is part of what I was planning on. So part of the reasons I was doing this half and half thing is I wanted to really noodle the other half and then come in here in the second half and kind of go a little faster and see if I can't knock out certain things in less time. So let's try that now. If I just, we're going to pretend we're going to do a little bit of a speed paint now and see what happens, you know. We just want to go in here, just go faster now. Now that we've gotten one half down, we'll try this little method out. I've got certain values that I know are correct, or at least they're not correct, but they're close to correct. And they're closer to correct than me having to figure out where to start on the other half of the head, so I can go to the half that's closer to finished and go, okay, let me start at the letter J instead of starting all the way back at letter A, and you know, I can go from there versus having to start back from the beginning and just do everything from the ground up again, you know. And I kind of had this in mind when I was starting this out too. I didn't really say it yet until now, but I'm going to use a different set of pressure sensitivity. It's not a different set, it's just my hands, like with how I'm controlling it now, I'm pressing a lot harder when earlier I was pressing very gently and trying to slowly get in the values. Now I'm trying to see if I can't nail it in one go. Not one go, but you know, just a little faster. It's just me to see, really. It's not like a necessary thing. You could still be super slow and it'd be like a really well-known professional artist. You don't have to be fast. There's lots of professionals that don't think that they're fast compared to the other professionals that are out there. Lots of them just feel like they should be faster. But in a way it doesn't matter because they're still getting paid and they, you know, have families and stuff, and it's not actually important. Not the way people think. Concept art is different. I mean, people are going to really think like, oh, you need to show us that you can do a bunch of things fast, even though it's not necessarily the best thing. I feel like, from what I've heard, studios like to know that you can bust out things pretty fast, you know? They want to know they're getting a lot of bang for their buck. But the correct thing they should look for is like usable designs, right? That's what you want. I don't work in the game industry, so I don't really know, but just general, like, my thought process is that you think they just really want to have good designs are just nailed right off the bat, you know. A few good ones are nailed off the bat versus like 30 mediocre ones that have to be like slowly turned into something better. I think we're going past an hour today. I think we're well past an hour, actually. I say well past, it's only going to be a few minutes past. It's looking kind of mannish on this side. Gotta soften up things. The eye is off. This other eye is still kind of off. That can be a little darker there. And the shadow shape here on the mouth's interesting because it's such a severe turn in that it's not as subtle as a white person's mouth. Just say it. Just say it. It's true though. It's probably something we should do too. We should probably just do studies. I say we, I mean I. But if you're following along with these, we'll do some face studies where like one day we just draw mouths. The other day we just draw noses. Just draw chins. Well, maybe not just chins. It's a little different. Eyes, like eyes with the brow. It's just darker. These values here are like the same on the other side. Kind of goes out. It's kind of looking dead to me because one of the eyes is, I kind of made it like it's kind of facing the wrong direction slightly, so I got to fix that. But right now it's kind of coming off like a corpse look. The eyes are just not. There's no life in the eyes. Oh, my brightness is still down. I need to kind of see the values now. It's kind of hard to see what I'm doing. Let's erase that a bit. It's a little too extreme. Let's fix the shape. Go, I just got real quiet. I zoned out. Sorry. CJ Marsh just messaged me. CJ, I was just gonna see if you wanted to Skype, but you were at a figure drawing class, so good for you. I just had to use a photo. Might Skype with CJ later. So telling everybody about fix that shape of the eye. Don't need to worry about repainting. It's okay. Some of these values are a little off still, but worry about that later. The overall face shape's off. There's a squareness to her face I don't have. I failed. I haven't failed, but I haven't failed. I'm about to stop. So that's making her look in the camera. I make her look slightly. This eye's slightly. The eyes are slightly. They're staying off in the distance, so they're kind of like further apart. Just because they're staring off into the distance. Sorry, I'm just checking my phone. CJ messaged me. CJ. Alright. Let's continue on a little bit. Just a little bit further. Just go a little further. A little deeper. Deeper into the rabbit hole. Okay. Let me go ahead and... Before I do stop, I'm going to go ahead and do some digital fixes. Photoshop fixes. Okay. I gotta put on a new layer. Copy paste. Okay, so the face should be a little longer, yet the lips were close. They're closer before. In terms of where they were, right? The size. Yeah, could be a little straighter. It's looking slightly closer. Let's see what else we got here. The eyes, so the spacing here is off. It's a little off on this side too. So like this eye could be a little closer. a little more tilted. Right. You gotta patch it up now, though, right? That's the problem. Creates all these little sharp edges. Kinda gotta patch it up. Patch it up. This eye is a little bigger than it should be. This whole eye, it seems, no, I guess it should be narrower. Narrower, a little further out. Needs to be an overall softness that I'm missing. And now the forehead looks a little too big. Some of the issues. Now, some of the ways I could have fixed these issues earlier on is if I had spent more time on the silhouette and just taking it a little slower. But I still have some more work I have to do tonight, so I gotta do that work. Oh, let me get a soft brush out. We're gonna use all our fancy tools. Anyway. A bunch of little things I can do to fix it. I mean, like, if you don't spend the time making it look perfect, at least go through and acknowledge everything. Like, make your notes on what's off. It's 9 o'clock. I thought it was 10 o'clock already. Oh. So I'm just completely off on the time. Okay, whatever. Central Standard Time here, people. Flip the face, you can do that. Take a look at the other side. I guess this eye was better off the way it was. I don't really want to go in and make it perfect. I just don't actually want to do it. That's the thing. I need to get some sketches done. And then I'd like to take some time tonight to draw something fun just for myself. Take these make these transitions smoother with this soft brush. Anyway, softer the better for female faces. Just don't want them to look so still too. It's not soft enough. It's got splotchy skin now. The drawing looks like it has splotchy skin. She doesn't look like she has splotchy skin, but the drawing will. It just seems to be what I get this feeling like. If I don't get the transitions right in my drawing, it has splotchy skin. But she, even though she has more texture in her face, doesn't have splotchy skin. It's like your mind kind of erases it a bit. She doesn't have splotchy skin. She has skin texture. But if I were to put in all the skin texture that she has, it would come off like she's got some kind of acne or something. Like the nose seems to be softer there. It's verging on this androgynistic look I don't want. You gotta draw Montezuma, people. Draw Montezuma. The Emperor of the Aztecs. I just have to draw him. It's for a client. Okay. Just kind of go back and forth on this a bit. Hey, I'm stuck in trying to fix it. It's just little things that are off. This is now, like I said before, it's all the little bitty things that are adding up to make a more visible inconsistencies. And also, she looks like a dude, and I don't want her to. Anyway. I keep saying bye, but I'm not leaving. I keep saying thank you for joining me. She shouldn't have a black eye. That looks like she's got a black eye. Alright. Oh. I'm gonna call it for today. It's good for now. Daily study group. What day is it? I don't know what day it is. Oh, on the daily study group, not the actual day. Let's see here. Jesus, all these terrible videos. The boy whose skin melted off. We're on day 37. We did 38. 38 was a paint over critique. Just 39. Let's check for sure. Gonna upload these photos. Gonna upload the stuff in the thread. If I don't do it tonight, I'll do it later. I generally do it at the end of the week and play catch up. I like to post everything at the end of the week. So far we've been doing it so that Sundays is a critique and paint over. So Sundays is not really a study so much as just just a critique and paint over. We already did 39. Oh, it was yesterday. $39 was yesterday. We're 40. Ah, great, cool, okay. Day 40. We'll come in and do another. I need to do my own little study where I just finish the damn thing. I just have other things to do right now, so it's still something to do this for an hour. think I went over an hour, but I think that's because I was talking too much, really. I get more done when I'm not talking, but I feel like it does help me put those mental notes on the table that I wouldn't have thought about otherwise. So that's kind of the value I see, that like if I can explain myself out loud, I can kind of call myself out on certain things if I know I'm going too slow or something. The other thing is I'm not in a rush tonight, because I've been in a rush most of the day to finish things. So a bunch of stuff you can fix. Thank you for joining me. I will save this and I will post it, but I will first downsize the entire image because I don't want it to be too big. Let's make it 8 inches. There we go. Maybe that was too small. Do it the other way. So, yeah. Thank you for joining me. Oh, you know what? That's what took so long. I did the little face breakdowns at first. Didn't take that long, but I'm just not in a rush tonight. I just said it before. Just tired. I'm tired. And, I'm tired. I want to get to sleep tonight. I don't know if I'm going to make it on time in the morning or if it's going to be pushed back a little later, the study group tomorrow morning. But it's going to happen tomorrow, so 9 a.m. is the preferred time. I gotta draw Montezuma now. But I'm going to end the stream and then I will get back on. I think I'll do that. I'll get back on with some music. Sounds like a plan. But I'll put y'all out with some outro music. I'm gonna run to the bathroom. Straight up, just gonna run to the bathroom. And then I'll get back online with some music and just work for a bit. Yeah, we hit the 2 hour mark. It's not too bad. Okay, thanks for joining me. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
I turned away, 'cause I thought you were the problem. Tried to forget until I hit the bottom. But when I faced you in my blank confusion, I realized you weren't wrong, was a mere illusion. It really didn't make sense just to leave this unresolved. It's not hard to go the distance when you finally get involved face to face.